in 2011, and I came here then to present to this group with Mark. And I have to say and admit, at that time, it probably wasn't the best presentation. We were talking about ALIS at that time, and we were starting off with a business case. And we asked for your time. We asked you to complete surveys, site visits. We asked for your time to be on focus groups. And you have continuously volunteered your time, whether it's on the AZ's reports or next on the statewide student information system. You have consistently been there as a dedicated partner to ASCUS. And now going on my fourth year at ADE, I just have to stop and thank you for being a dedicated partner, because you've gone above and beyond your regular job of what you're doing to help us improve education. So I just wanted to thank you. And as part of ALIS, going around and doing those surveys and asking you to meet with us face-to-face and all those phone calls, and asking you if we were to have a statewide system. Actually, the statewide SIS was the third that you came back in ranked. Assessment system was the first. A data system like the dashboards was second, and statewide student information system was third. You volunteered your time to write 1,700 requirements, 52 areas of functionality, 15 areas of system capabilities, and we wrote that RFP. We put it out on the street. As many of you know at this point, because we've been here multiple times to talk about this, we selected EduPoint Synergy as our statewide vendor. As you know, if you come on as a new customer, it's $10 per student. In years 2 through 10, it's $6.50 per student. All of this information, all the modules, the feature highlights, the pricing structure, all their optional modules, and they have optional modules in assessment, in lesson view, online reg. All of that information is out there on our website at ALIS SIS. Same place where you find your information about ADE Connect, about AZs. It's the same information that we have our business case. You would read that as well. It's the same place. So when they asked us to come back again and revisit this topic, you wanted to find out more information about, well, what is the process? What have we been currently doing for the past, what has it been now, 8 months, about having people opt in? Well, the process down here is at the very bottom. We have our outreach team. That outreach team is Lori Ventura, up here at the been part of the STC. She moved to outreach and has been doing that for quite some time. You see outreach, email, the phone number. The process first is look at the product. We have product demos. They're scheduled for the remainder of the year. This is completely optional. We have several optional product lines that are part of ALIS. We'll have a learning management system. We'll have a content management system that will be coming out as well. These are just optional. The mandatory things like AZEDs, those are not optional. So start with a product demo. Then we go into meetings, administrative meetings. Let's talk about it. Then there's a quote that will happen. Then we have an IGSA, the Intergovernmental Service Agreement. That is the agreement now that you are actually having a contract between the LEA and ADE. It is no longer a contract that is between you and the vendor. So the services, such as the implementation, the training, the support, is provided by ADE. Then we go into the purchase order, and then we actually devise the project plan and go into a project kickoff. So Lori's here, myself, Linda, we can definitely go into all the details about, if you want to ask about how do we go about doing the RFP, if you want more details about that, the pricing, how to get to the website, we could talk about this entire process. So don't hesitate to approach me, or even about the other optional product lines that we have in ALIS as well. So I'm going to hand it over to Linda. She's going to go into a little bit more detail about the actual implementation. She'll go into the sections about once the project is kicked off, and then into support.
So as you can see right now, we have one LEA, very excited about that. That is actually live and calling customer support at ADE for assistance with Synergy. We have 5 LEAs that are currently in the implementation phase, so they've begun the process. Essentially, we've got a kickoff, we're working out their project planning and moving through that. And then about 12 more LEAs in the queue that are ready, and we're beginning, they're at the very beginning stages of their project planning. And as you can see, 25 more, and Jolene touched on it a little bit in the quotation and negotiation phase. So that essentially means that maybe they've got a quote already out there, we're going through reviewing their IGSA. So you can see there's quite a few LEAs that are opting into this. Remember what Mark said, we want this to be successful for the LEAs that decide to make this jump, decide to make this choice. So we're not trying to conquer the world. We want it to be your choice. As Jolene mentioned, it's purely optional. So we're trying to do this the right way. We're learning as we go. And this is really for ADE one of the first times that we've been operating as a business providing this kind of service. So there's a lot of things that we've had to build in from a process perspective, and taking money and providing a service to you for that, the money that we get. So there's some things that we're learning, we're working it out, moving along. But when you actually enter into implementation, there's just these, what we have found to be some of the best practices, and the approach for the implementation is really making sure that, we're just not going to say, okay, you bought Synergy, so let's do this, get the software installed. We have to come up with a really good plan and timelines. All those things around training and your data conversion, getting the data in. We come up with a really nice plan for you, timelines that you can commit to that are going to work for your LEA. We also have some, I don't know if you saw Mylan here, we have some infrastructure readiness that we do. We want to make sure that your browser requirements are, that you meet those, that your system requirements, that when you actually use Synergy, that is going to perform the way that you expect it to perform. So we go through a readiness, infrastructure readiness with you. Part of the implementation approach too is, there's really 3 major pieces to it: the application and security setup, the data conversion, and then the training and support. So that application and security setup, really defining who within your LEA are going to be those people that are going to be responsible for maintaining administering the system, and then how you're going to essentially assign out roles. We actually are also going to be participating in making sure that if you were federated with AD Connect previously and you happen to move to Synergy, if you're using another application, that we make sure that that happens as well as part of this. And then the data conversion piece, making sure that you understand the formats that the data needs to be in to actually have that data loaded into Synergy. Training is critical. Our training model, I think it's very effective. We like to operate in that it's a train the trainer, so we train those persons at your LEA that you designate that are going to be, I guess your power users, and we help you come up with a training plan to essentially train your LEA staff. It's not to say that if you don't have the capacity to do that we couldn't do that for you, but that's our essential model. And then the communication. So when you think about it, if you get a new SIS, as we all know, it's a major change. I used to access a parent portal this way. My teachers used to use this kind of gradebook. They used to do things in a completely different way. So communicating out to your community is very important. So we work with you to come up with a good communication plan on what are the best ways for you to roll this out and communicate to your community about the changes that are happening with your student information system. Do you have any questions about anything that I haven't?
Hi, Linda.
Hi, hi.
Approximately how many students are involved in the 1 and the 5?
The one is, it's 86 students, so it's a very small charter. And the 5, gosh, we're probably talking about, let's see, no, take that back. About 3, no, let's see, 8, 10,000. Yeah. And then the 12, we get into a much bigger number. Much bigger. Yeah.
Out of the 12, 5, and 1, that total right there, we're almost at 70,000.
72,000, I think is,
70,000
yeah.
out of the first, not including the 25 in the quotation and negotiation phase.
What's that? Oh, 72,000, sorry. Out of the, right, out of the 1, 12, and 5. So, yes, what?
So as long as you're talking numbers, how large the support staff do you currently have, and are you affected by the governor's proposed hiring?
So, how large of a support staff? We have the same support staff that we currently have today. I believe that we are, I don't know, is it 10 or 12 people in the support group right now? I'm going to cover a little bit more about support, but that's.
How about
That's.
your hiring?
I don't know anything about hiring.
For 10 years, or if you get a lot more people, or is your price going to decrease? Because currently your price is higher than some of us are paying who we currently have.
So one of the things I think we recognize, and it's like I said, a lot of things that we learned. Some people are on perpetual licenses. Some people are on subscription licenses. It still comes down to, it's possible that that pricing could go down. That is something that's possible. I can't say that it will, and that's not something that I can predict today. But it will likely be continually evaluated. So, meaning that, based on the intent is that sure, we'd like to get as many people as possible using this, because by volume we know that our pricing that we have with this vendor goes down, so we would be able to pass that along to the LEAs. So likely, that could happen. Will it happen? I can't say that. Sure.
Would you repeat the question, Linda?
Oh, I'm sorry. If you're currently on Synergy, would you pay the $10 or $6.50? If you're currently on Synergy, we'd want to sit down and talk to you about what kind of contract you already have with EduPoint, and then we evaluate it from there. So what we found is that a lot of people are on a perpetual license, so you've already bought the product. So it's a little bit different than a subscription license. Any other questions? Do you have to go out for an RFP? No, you don't. We've done that heavy lifting for you. So this is a 10-year contract, so we don't have to do that for the next 10 years, if we don't want to. I believe it's up to 2, and then we have the option, but it's a 10-year contract.
But you were saying it's a possibility that the price could change within that 10-year contract.
It's possible. Anything's possible. It's all possible. I just don't get to make that decision. If it was up to me, I'll be free. Because I know what you do. One more question?
I've seen the pricing that on the whatever website. I've seen the pricing.
ASCUS website.
Where's the detail pricing on
So what do you mean by that?
Well, if the optional module, like, isn't there a module for ESS? Isn't there a module that contains?
So yes, there is pricing. So for those modules, they tend to be a little bit more involved. So you're talking about special ed and online assessment. So when we have someone that is interested in an optional module, we like to have a conversation with you about it. But in this case, I'll just go ahead and tell you that $8 a student for special ed. We do per student, not based on your enrollment count. So, but if you have a question about that, you can always contact the outreach team and they can give you that information.
Yes.
Great. Any other questions? No? Are you sure? Okay, so Bob was asking about support. Our support staff have gone through an outrageous amount of training. They have gone through about, it's 112 hours, about 6 weeks of training. They've completed training on troubleshooting the product. They've completed training on sitting with the EduPoint staff in their customer resource center and actually listening in on live calls and taking live calls, not just from Arizona customers, but from any Synergy customer. So they've gone through this very rigorous process of becoming certified Synergy staff, essentially. So there's been a huge effort on our part to make sure that when you're talking to someone at ADE about Synergy, that they have all the information and tools that they need to answer your questions accurately. And I want to talk a little bit too about the support model. So you may or may not know this. One of the things that is really important, I've heard this so much, every time I talk to an LEA about, deciding to opt in, one of the same topic comes up over and over and over, and that's about support. They want to know, well, gee, if I call ADE support, am I going to get, someone that's going to be able to help me? When I was talking about training, that's one piece of it, but the way that the method that's used, we're doing the same thing, but a little bit more than what actually EduPoint even offers. Because today, EduPoint's model is that they train you and they want your staff to handle your level 1 and level 2 issues, and then if you can't resolve it, you contact them, and they essentially handle level 2 issues. And ADE's taken it a step further and said, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to train you to take level 1 and level 2 issues, but we're also going to take level 1 and level 2 issues from you if you call us. So if we can't resolve the issue, we will work with EduPoint to resolve the issue with you. So we're never without EduPoint behind us as a support. Yes? So this is a hosted environment, so if you're going to get direct database access, you wouldn't get that in a hosted environment.
Sorry, her question and then.
So would LEAs get access to the backend SQL of Synergy? Because we use that backend to push data to tons of different systems. So if we write our own SQL queries and, schedule those files to go everywhere, would we still have access if we were in that hosted environment? Or have access to it anyways?
So did everybody hear that about? Okay. So the question was around do you get, if you opt in this model, do you have direct access to the database to run SQL queries and the results of those pushed out to other applications? Right, right. So my response to that is, if you're in the hosted environment, you wouldn't have direct database access to be able to do those back-end or direct SQL queries. We do have an option for private cloud hosting, so essentially we would be able to provide that to you. So that is available, but the majority of our model is that it's just in the cloud, not a private cloud. Yeah, it's about, okay, thank you. That's different.
And I apologize, you may have said this already. So you have the cloud, you have the private cloud, you have locally hosted?
There has been an instance where we have self-hosted, yes.
That doesn't answer my question.
Yes, we do. We do.
You said it hesitantly.
No, we do.
What's the problem?
We do.
with
There's
hosting?
no problem. Let me step back for a second. When we went down this path, really what we were trying to do is And the question was asking about, do we have a self-hosted option? We do have a self-hosted option. You have a self-hosted option, a private cloud option, and just hosted option. The self-hosted, when we went down this path, essentially, it was for those LEAs, remember we were thinking about some of those smaller LEAs that didn't have those feature-rich systems, that had all this overhead of managing a system or had to hire somebody to do that. This cloud option was perfect for them. You know, it's like, I don't have to manage this anymore. I don't have to worry about backups. I don't have to worry about disaster recovery, none of that stuff. I just go to my web browser, access the system, and do what I need to do. As we began to speak to more districts, some of larger sizes, their need to do some of those things, direct database access, it became more prevalent to us that maybe we needed to consider some other options, and so we have. And as example, a larger district like Mark mentioned, Tucson, they're going to be a self-hosted.
Okay. So that is an option, because we have the same concerns, you know, that this young lady here mentioned. We pull out of those systems and it automatically creates accounts and for students and everything, you know. I mean, it passes over into other systems to make sure that they're set up, to make sure, you know, that. So if we can't have access like read-only to that database in the cloud, to at least dump it into a data warehouse for us to push things out, then that's a problem.
So what I would encourage you to do, if you have questions and you want to sit down and talk with us in more detail, then we can definitely schedule some time to meet with you and go over, you know, all of your questions. We find that when we actually have the opportunity to sit down, we come up with the best option for you. So.
Sounds good.
So, and the other last thing that I wanted to speak about with support, Mark touched on it, about the surveying and all of that, but one of the things that's really, really key, and we've been involved with through implementation, through outreach, and that is the support changes. So with the staff that we have right now, we've got some new tools that we're using, and the other pieces of that are that we're actually listening on calls like vendors do. So we want to hear what kinds of responses are actually being provided to LEAs. And we're also going to be periodically reviewing the responses that are provided. So, and doing a lot of metric tracking on making sure that, you know, we're providing the accurate response and how long does it take for us to actually do that. So there's a lot of changes. There's been a huge effort, a huge effort in support. It's likely one of Mark's most important initiatives, making sure that we're giving you accurate information in a timely and courteous way. So it's a huge, huge effort on our part placed on getting support ready to talk to you about synergy and other areas. Yeah, and that's all that I have. Unless you have any other questions?
What's for lunch?
Sorry. Pizza.
Lori, did you want to answer a couple of questions about Tide before? we
Yeah,
run?
I got two questions. We've got more out, but one of the questions that we got an answer for were district test coordinators, the only users allowed in Tide. District test coordinators are the only Tide users uploaded into Tide by ADE on your behalf. District test coordinators are responsible for adding other users. So if you feel you need access to the Tide system, go to your district test coordinator. Okie doke. What is the last date to manually enter changes into Tide? We wanted that question answered. The Tide users, like yourself, can be added through the end of the computer-based testing window. And student records can be added or edited locally beginning March through the end of the computer-based testing window through May 8th. Are there any follow-ups from those two that I need to get further clarification on? Oh, yeah, well, that's the other one. These two are empty. So does Tide validate against SACE and Tide data overwrite? I'm still waiting on those questions. Okay, if for some reason I missed something, come see me and I'll get the question answered for you.
once you log into Tide, does it give you the template you need or the instructions to upload manually?
Say again.
So once you try to add manually, like a group of students, does it give you the template you need to upload?
Go to that user guide that I showed you.
So it'll
And
be
it'll be in there. Yeah, it is, because I did review that, and it gives you instructions on how to do that. Yeah, it does. Anything else? Yes? I'm sure, can be added or edited locally. I did not ask if it was manual or with a file upload. Is that what your question is? Oh, yeah, and that's what it's saying. Student records can be added or edited locally beginning of March, end of a computer-based testing window through May 8th. Does that help? Okay.
Hi, any more? How do we work the mic? Any more questions before we move on to business stuff? Lunch is in that room I call over there at noon. User groups, 2 of them will be there in the room I call right here. Infinite Campus, no, that's not right. Who's back there? Synergy here, Infinite Campus back there. Pearson over there. Okay, in the room to the which direction from the lunchroom? Okay, get that same room as lunch on the other side of the tables. Okay. So far, so good? Schoolmaster, anybody here from Schoolmaster? Little room. The little cold room. I'm sorry, what? Okay. Next meeting, April 24th. If any of you would like to help videotape, it would be much appreciated. Don't forget elections, nominate folks, recruit folks, beg folks, all of the above. Oh, and finance is meeting, and they're meeting over there.